of a scary topic for some. I usually do this in the dark, and I ask people to raise their hands who's afraid of sharks, so they won't be embarrassed. But since it's not dark, I'm not going to embarrass you. But, so I usually start off with a little levity. So I need somebody that's not afraid to tell a joke, preferably a kid, like you. You can stay there. I'll walk it over to you. Here's your joke. And there's an old saying, I don't know if it was Bob Hope or somebody that said, it's not the material, it's the delivery. Can you read? Good. You can read? Okay. You already got a prize. I'll give you something else though, something different. Anybody else? Any adult want to read a joke? No. All right. Stand up, tell me your name, and let's hear your joke.
My name's Kiana, and it's what's a shark's favorite game? Swallow the leader.
Swallow the leader. These are ranger jokes, by the way. They're all pretty bad. Go ahead. What's your name?
Jackson. Why did the shark spit out the clown?
Why?
Because he tasted funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's one of my favorite ones. Okay, go ahead. What's your name?
My name is Easton.
Okay, Easton.
What do you call someone who sticks his right hand into a shark's mouth? Lefty.
Lefty, very good.
I'm Steven. If a hungry shark is after you, what should you feed it? The answer, jawbreakers.
All right. Since you're so brave, you get authentic, real, fossilized shark teeth. You already got some? I've got something else for you, though.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, I'll take my jokes back. What are you saying?
Too bad you're out there. You can't
Okay. I became enamored with sharks many, many years ago, and this tells you how old I am watching Sea Hunt and Jacques Cousteau specials, right? So when I graduated from high school, I went to the Bahamas, known for having lots of sharks. And I collect seashells, used to collect seashells, it's hard to now. But my friend, we were diving, we were about 65, 70 feet down, and my friend hands me this giant conch shell, huge. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm grabbing it and I'm swimming along down below. All of a sudden I feel this really sharp pain. Ow! And I look down and I got this huge cut in my finger, and this blood is draining out, and it's deep enough where I can't see red. All I can see is green. I've never seen a shark in my entire life. So what of course happens? Here comes a bull shark. Right at me. Gets about this close to me. Looks at me, I look at it, it takes off. And I'm like, what? This isn't what I've heard happen. Everything I've seen, I'm chum basically. So I gotta study some more sharks. I went to college and learned more about sharks. So if you don't learn anything, and this is the reoccurring theme tonight, don't believe everything you hear. Some things that I told 2 weeks ago, guess what? I just read today they had an elasmobranch, which is a bunch of scientists that study sharks, convention down in Houston a week or two ago, and they had some papers printed, and some of the stuff it's changed from 2 weeks ago, and it's in the show. So you get the show that nobody has ever seen. So let's watch this.
This shark and his relatives are long-established enemies of man. He is a wicked, unpredictable opponent. If sharks are in the area, you can repel them with sounds by striking the surface of the water with your cupped hand. Or you can shout underwater. Among the visual methods of preventing attacks are directing a stream of bubbles from your life preserver in his direction. tearing up paper into small pieces, and scattering them all around the raft.
Who has books out there?
If a shark threatens to attack you or damage the raft, do not try to shoot or knife him. Chances are you would only slightly injure and infuriate him. Remember, his front end is practically all mouth. Once in your raft, stay there and remain quiet. Remember that as a human being, you are smarter than a shark. If you use your head.
Okay, that was shown to pilots during the Vietnam War. And I don't know if it made them feel better, but almost everything in that is incorrect. Okay, the myth of the monster. Hopefully when we're done tonight, you'll know a little bit more about sharks, maybe not be quite so afraid, but respect them still. Okay, this was everybody's worst nightmare, right? Seeing this or this, right? That's my son about 12 years ago. This is him now, actually, a couple of weeks ago. So that's how long we've been doing the show. People have been fascinated by sharks forever, from tattoos to clothing to beds. I mean, sharks and dinosaurs. You can't get enough of them when you're a kid. The local Indians actually used white shark teeth for arrowheads, and people in the South Pacific used tiger shark and other sharks' teeth for weapons. Shark skin is amazing stuff. If you've never felt it, come up here afterwards. Rub your finger on it. You can see how rough it is. They used it for grips on swords. It's 7 times stronger than cowhide, dry cleanable, color fast, and more flexible. So it's good stuff. People have been painting sharks. Copley and Homer, 2 famous paintings with sharks as their key element. We painted the front end of planes to look like sharks, to look more fierce. We actually used some of their oil in our crankcases because it froze at really, really low temperatures. And we're still painting sharks on things. And I just went to Comic-Con last weekend, and just to show you, superheroes haven't left sharks out. I'm here to tell you, if you've been in the water, you've been in the water with sharks. It's just a fact. Okay, one of these is very dangerous, and the other is a shark. More people die from Coke machines or vending machines every year. True fact. More people die taking selfies than from sharks. More people die from mosquitoes, hippos, bees, dogs, deer, pigs. Remember when Dorothy fell in the pig pen and they were freaking out? Pigs can be mean, but you don't see movies called Hogs or Razorback or anything like that. You do see this, though. They're always the bad guy in the movie, right? Starting to change. Shark Week is on right now. It's the #1 money maker for Discovery Channel. Back in the early 70s, Peter Benchley wrote this book, Jaws. And then this guy, Steven Spielberg, made a movie of it and kept Dave and other lifeguards bored all summer long because nobody would go in the ocean in 1975. People were paranoid about shark attacks. And he wrote about this, the great white shark, or at least what he thought he knew about it, what the available data was, which was incorrect, a lot of it. People went out and just killed sharks by the millions upon millions after this movie. And right before he died, he did an interview and said that was one of the biggest mistakes he made his entire life. He was an extreme conservationist, and he was really sad that people went out and killed sharks because of his book. He had read about this, Carcharodon megalodon, a big carnivorous shark that is now extinct, fed on prehistoric whales. Got up to, well, scientists aren't really sure, but it was big. Anywhere from 40 to 60 feet. That's what they think, either this big or that big. That's a big shark. No more. They're not out there. You don't need to worry about them. just fossilized teeth now. Their teeth alone weighed 300 pounds. That's a lot of weight just in teeth. If you see that black tooth is a normal sized tooth from one, and the white shark is the white tooth, so quite a bit different. He read about things like sharks attacking boat motors, and they do. And we'll talk about why they do sometimes. But if you don't learn anything tonight, don't believe everything you read. But if anybody knows where I can get some of that aftershave, see me after the program. Okay, Mrs. Gaffney's a cartilage brain. What are we talking about? We're talking about a group of fish that don't have bones. They have they have cartilage attached to muscle. And it makes them more flexible. If you don't know what it is, grab your nose or ear, that's cartilage. And makes them not so heavy because they don't have swim bladders. Some of the animals that belong to that group are rays, skates and sawfish. The biggest fish in the ocean in the world is this, the whale shark, up to 60 foot long. Eats plankton like whales, like baleen whales. Smallest shark, lantern pygmy shark, full grown right there. And when I started this program, they said there was about 450 sharks species in the world. Now they're saying there's around 550. They're finding more and more every year, especially deepwater sharks. Finding lots of new deepwater sharks. Hammerheads, probably the most advanced of all the sharks. Bizarre shape, but they've got this big wide cephalofoil head, and they can sniff things way better because they get this big arc of where they can smell things at, and they have tons of sensory things we'll talk about underneath there, so really highly developed. Weird sharks like goblin sharks, frilled sharks, both super deep water sharks. You'd never see them. The one thing about this has the fastest jaw of any shark. It shoots it out like Alien and pulls things back in. That's a prehistoric shark, but somebody thought, I think it maybe had been closer to this, and somebody just put it together wrong, personally. Very, very deep water sharks, thousands of feet now. This is one of those sharks. This is up to a 20-foot long shark that was only discovered in 1976. Nobody knew what it was. This one was taken by a friend of mine that was caught right off Dana Point and towed back into the harbor, and he jumped in the water and took pictures of it. It's called the Megamouth Shark because it has this giant mouth. Guess what? It's another plankton eater. They didn't even know about it until 1976. It's a 20-foot long fish. And then they didn't know what the females look for another 20 years. Until 1996, they'd never seen a female. This is classic. I love this shark. It used to be called the Cigar Shark. And scientists had always been seeing these weird wounds on sides of big fish and marine mammals and things, and they couldn't figure out what it was from. They found out it was from this, the once Cigar Shark, now called the cookie cutter shark. What it likes to do, and the weird thing, when they first saw it in action, it bit the nose of a nuclear submarine. The nose of a nuclear submarine is neoprene, and it bit that thing and tried to bite a hunk of neoprene out and pull it out like a plug. That's why it gets its name. It loses all its teeth at once. It doesn't eat for 3 months. I think it'd be cooler, though, if its jaws were shaped and we could get something like that. A lot of people think, if I'm swimming in cold water, I'm okay. Sharks just like warm water. Well, not true. There's a shark that lives underneath the ice cap. It's called the Greenland shark. And you know what the coolest thing about this shark is? And they just found it out last year. It's the oldest living vertebrate on Earth. How old do you think this thing gets?
Over 100 years.
Over 100, you're right. Any more?
500.
Not quite. 400. 400 years. Maybe there is a 500-year one. So guess what? They're studying that. They're doing research on this shark, trying to, how does it do that? Can we do that? Can we use something that it uses to help us? Amazing. There's never been an attack on humans, but then there's not a lot of swimmers up in the ice cap. But they have been seen attacking caribou and things like that fall into the ice. They're very big, over 20 foot at full grown. Very slow. Problem with shark biology is that most sharks, not all, but most sharks reproduce really slowly compared to other fish. They give birth, here's another new fact, they give birth 3 different ways. We thought, until last year, eggs, about a third of them lay eggs and they just let them go, and about 9 months, depending on the temperature of the water, they hatch. Another third lay eggs inside the mother. When the first ones hatch, they eat all their brothers and sisters, and only a couple come out live. And the third way is live birth, like, once again, the hammerhead, the most highly developed shark. This has a placental attachment like a mammal. A fish with a placenta? That's bizarre, right? And last year, there's one more way. Parthenogenesis. What does that mean? It means no males are needed. They have found in several shark species that have been in captivity for years and years and years and never had any males in the tanks, nothing. They gave birth anyway. The females split their eggs somehow, combined them, and made a viable shark without a male.
Are they all females then?
No, they are not. Don't ask me how. At first they didn't think they could live because a few of them died within 5 months, but now they've got them where they're living and they're fully viable. They can reproduce. I don't get it. Where'd they get that chromosome? Bizarre.
How many hammerhead sharks at a time?
You can see a bunch,
That's
20.
all? Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
So that's a species that can come back quickly if overfished, possibly. White sharks, not so. Mako's not so. Thresher's not so. We used to think all sharks are territorial, right? You don't remember Jim Stewart? Jim Stewart was the head diving instructor at Scripps, where I took. You might have taken it too. We got, how cool is that? Jim Stewart, he was like buddies with Jacques Cousteau. We got to go down there and learn advanced diving techniques from this guy. He has this huge scar on his elbow. And of course, being inquisitive, I asked him, what happened? He goes, I got bit by a shark. And I'm like, yeah, right. What really happened? No, I did. And what had happened, they were studying shark behavior in the Pacific atolls, and the sharks would come over and hunch over, snap, go back and forth like that, and they're going, what is that doing? Bam! And then it would attack them. It's just like a dog or a cat saying, get away. And white sharks do that. White sharks will chomp their jaws. If they're trying to tell you, get away from me now, they do this. But other sharks could care less. They hang out in huge groups. You used to hear, well, if sharks don't swim, they die. Some sharks do. That's true. Oceanic sharks are not very good at this, but these sharks are great at it. They can sit on the bottom all day long, and there's lots of sharks that do that. These are nurse sharks down by Dry Tortugas. I went down to the Dry Tortugas, and there's a nursing ground down there, and that's funny because these are nurse sharks. And you know, who knows how they get their name? Nurse sharks like to suck. They put their mouth over holes and suck in lobster, or put their mouth on conch shells and suck the conch right out of it. So that's what they do. They're not aggressive at all. Been around a million, never seen an aggressive one. And they get big. We used to think sharks have terrible eyesight, that's why they're attacking us. Well, we know now that we used to think they could see color. You ever hear I think Mythbusters did something, and they said, yum yum yellow, don't wear yellow, because they can't actually see color. If they do, some of them might be able to see a little bit, but very little. But they do have excellent eyesight, much better than cats in the dark. They have a special organ, some of them, called a nictitating membrane that covers their eye when they bite. And they wouldn't have that if their eye wasn't important. White sharks do not have that. White sharks roll their eyes back into their head. when they bite to protect their eyes. Because white sharks use their eyes, guys. White sharks are the only shark we know of right now that'll stick his head out of the water and look around. Ooh, there's a seal, and go swim toward it. So their eyesight's important. Okay, far side, biology with sense of humor. What? Ketchup? We followed ketchup trail for 3 miles? They have an unbelievably good sense of smell. You've heard 1 drop per 1,000,000 drops of blood. I mean, 1 drop of blood, 1,000,000 drops of water. I'm not sure if that's true, but they breathe through their mouth, over their gills, and they smell through these things. You can't call them nostrils because they don't breathe out of them. They're called nares. But 2/3 of their brain is devoted just toward the sense of smell. So they have a good sense of smell. I read once that it's basically akin to if you had a Big Mac over on this side of Central Park and you were on this side of Central Park, you could smell your way to that Big Mac. That's how good it is.
That was all sharks or just white sharks?
All sharks have a good sense of smell. Some have much better than others. Being hammerheads have a really good sense, maybe the best sense of smell. So that's the one thing about when you talk about sharks in 550 species, you can't make a lot of generalized statements because they're all different. Some live in really deep, some live in shallow, some live on reefs, some live in kelp beds, so they all are kind of different. It's hard to generalize. They have these, like a 7th sense. They're called Ampullae De Lorenzini. You don't need to remember that, but it picks up electrical signals. And you'll see hammerheads especially going right over the surface of the sand. And what those ampullae do is they pick up electrical signals. Every time you move your muscle, your heart is a muscle, every time you do that, you give off electrical signal. It can pick that up. It knows that something's underneath the sand. They say it's like having a battery from a flashlight. They could pick up that signal 10,000 miles away. That's how acute it is. And they have a lateral line. Remember when that guy was going like this? Bam, bam, bam on the water. That's not going to scare them. That's going to draw them in. What's that? What's that? What's that? So, the business end of a shark. Teeth. Their teeth are not embedded into bone. Their teeth are in their gums. You can tell what a shark eats by the shape of their teeth. This was a little salmon shark that washed ashore at San Onofre. This species, for some reason, has a tendency to get encephalitis as a baby, and they wash up because they can't figure out up, down, right, left, and they wash up. And they look a lot like white sharks. A lot of times people get mistaken. You know how to tell the difference, David?
Fins.
If you look on their caudal peduncle, which is basically right where my hand is, they have 2 keels. A white shark has 1 keel, which makes it stable. This has 2 keels on each side. That's basically the only way you can tell as a baby. And sharks sometimes lose up to 35,000 teeth during their lifetime. It's a lot of teeth. As soon as it gets dull, they fall out because a dull tooth is worthless to it. And if you look at those jaws I have out there, turn them upside down, you can see some of them have 7, 8 rows of teeth. Some people see sharks no matter where they look. And I mean anywhere, right? We used to see this a lot, especially as lifeguards, I guess, Dave. Yep. They'd see this, and what would the general public do? Ah! Sharks! But what it really was this. Dolphin. But guess what, folks? It's a brave new world. We are seeing sharks right in the surf zone now. This was only taken a couple months ago in San Clemente. Last summer, we had hammerheads. And I'm hearing the hammerheads are making their way back up because the water's so warm right now. Right in the surf zone. These were all taken at San Onofre trails. My son took those underwater shots. This one was about a 12-footer that was feeding on a dead whale, and that dead whale was offshore. Todd Shanklin took that picture. This was just a few weeks ago, right off Pochi in Dana Point. I got to go out on the boat with Chris Lowe, who runs the shark program up at Long Beach, and help him tag. It was so fun, I can't even tell you. We saw 19 sharks in water this deep in 3 hours. 19 different sharks, all whites, every one. No, in Dana Point.
Really close to shore.
Yeah. I mean, standing up high. And Pochi, it's called. It's right between the jetty, not the jetty, the pier and south end of Doheny. And I used to tell everybody, okay, with all, all these people in the water, and there's billions of people, millions and millions every year, nobody's ever been attacked in Orange County. Well, guess what? A year ago, this lady got attacked right up by Corona, and then this lady got attacked at San Onofre this year. Luckily, I mean, by the mercy of God, amazing, neither one of them died. So it's happening. It's, we kind of thought it was going to happen eventually. But we're going to talk about it, so don't get too scared yet. And this is what they're doing in shallow water. Baby white sharks' favorite food are stingrays, thornback skates, halibut and other flatfish, and grunion. And those things all live in shallow water. That's what they're doing there. They're not looking for us. So why are these white sharks coming? Everybody, that's the number one question. Why are there so many white sharks? The ocean is healthy. We've been protecting that ocean since 1970s. And it's getting cleaner, getting better, especially off this coast. It was pretty bad for a while there. White sharks have been protected almost 25 years, since 1994. So you can't catch them anymore. So what's their population going to do? Stands to reason that it's going to go up. Marine mammals, they've been protected since 1972. There's more seals and sea lions, and elephant seals are coming down the coast. Even we're seeing sea otters coming down the coast. More marine mammals. Guess what they like to eat? Marine mammals. Let's talk about that right now. I used to bring this because I said white sharks never attack otters. It's like eating a hairball. There's no fat on them, and white sharks need fat because they have a warm-blooded system. They like things like this that need blubber. Well, that's not true anymore. They're finding hundreds of sea otters actually being attacked and not eaten, bit. And what Chris thinks, and I agree with him, is a lot of those subadults are getting pushed out, and a lot of the adults up here are having babies, and they don't hunt big things like this for several years. But they start learning how to do that maybe 7 years old, 8 years old, and they don't get good at it till they're like 12 years old, if they ever get good at it. So they start trying and attempting, and sea otters, they bite them, they spit them out, but usually it kills them. You see a lot of seals with bites that it doesn't kill them. Inshore gill nets and long lines have been outlawed for over 10 years. Gill nets used to kill them by the tons. In fact, they still use them down off Baja, and they still kill white sharks down there. But off this coast, no. There's more people in the water every year, especially when it's hot and muggy. Water stayed warm the last couple of years. The juveniles that live here like to go down to Mexico as soon as it gets 60 degrees. Once it gets to 60 degrees, they're out of here. Guess what it didn't do for almost ever last 2 winters? It never got cold. So they hung out. So now they're trying to think, are these things going to get so used to not leaving that they're not going to leave anymore? Because they're going to get big. The big ones don't need to move. They can live in cold water, warm water, whatever they want. Only the juveniles need to leave cold water. Whale population has skyrocketed. And when we were kids, you never saw blue whales and humpback whales off this coastline. They're everywhere now. And guess what? They die. And they love to eat those things. And the last thing, this is what Chris was talking about. Large and subadults that used to live off the Guadalupe Islands are getting pushed out of there. There's too many down there. So they have to find somewhere else to live. So they're looking at Orange Coast and going, this looks like a pretty good area. Okay, some of our local sharks would include things like angel sharks, which you don't see much anymore. We used to see tons of them. They got overfished. Swell sharks, the name, what they like to do is like what a porcupine fish does. They blow up full of air. Sometimes they'll bite their tail and make like a shark donut. And it's hard to swallow something that big. Very docile shark, would never ever bite you. In fact, I don't have it, but they don't really have teeth per se. Not that could hurt you. Horn sharks. Cool thing about this shark, another small shark that would never hurt you, has these big horns to protect it from other sharks eating it. It pokes them in the roof of the mouth if they try to eat it. And you'll notice this is the one that has the really cool egg, mermaid's purse, that washes ashore. Leopard sharks. And if you ever want to dive with leopard sharks, I've done it twice in the last 2 weeks. Go down to La Jolla and you can be in the water with 50 sharks in 6 foot of water, and they would never ever hurt you. In fact, if you make too much noise, they head for the hills. Just lay there and literally you can see 20 below you at one time. It's crazy. And they're 4 to 6 foot long sharks. This is a smoothhound, likes to live in the surf. Tons of them out here in the surf. The second largest shark ever, it's the basking shark. That one was killed in a gill net off Ensenada. 40 foot long, and it's another plankton eater. Taupe sharks are also called soup fin sharks. See a lot of those in La Jolla and Catalina. Blue sharks you see in the channel, they're real inquisitive. Really pretty blue too. 7-gill sharks, we haven't seen them much up here, but they're all over the place in La Jolla. They can be aggressive. The fastest shark in the world, the Mako Shark. You can tell a Mako just by looking at its teeth. Nobody else has that kind of chompers, but a Mako. Probably the fastest shark in the ocean, 65 miles an hour.
Oh my
It can haul, and it feeds on things like swordfish, which go really fast, and tuna, which go really fast. And also they say the smartest shark in the ocean. Large brain and warm blood. Can have their temperature 10 to 20 degrees above the ambient water temperature. That's why they're so fast. Thresher sharks. These are crazy. They used to catch these all the time off Dana Point. They'd fillet them and then they'd dump them. And then they'd end up on my beach. This one actually got thumped in San Clemente in some giant surf, a little baby. And they called me to see if I could save it, which I put it in a big tank, but it still died. It had internal injuries. But that tail is what's so cool. A 10-foot thresher shark will have 5 foot of tail. So it's pretty wild. They use it to hunt with. And if you get smacked by one of those, it could kill you. It smacks fish. A lot of times they'll catch it when people are fishing for them by the tail, because it'll smack the bait with the tail, get hooked up on the tail, and they'll bring it in backwards. Really cool shark. Would not attack people. Its teeth. Look at the teeth out there. They're like this big, and it's from a 14-footer. Likes little fish. This one, however, this is the white shark. This is everybody's favorite, right? This is the one that's off our coast in large numbers right now. What do they like to eat? Adults like to eat this. Seals and seals and sea lions, because they have lots of blubber, and they're warm-blooded too, so they need that blubber. What do other sharks like to eat? That's like saying what do kids like to eat? Different stuff. Most sharks like squid. Some sharks will eat anything, like tiger sharks. This is a tiger shark eating a tiger shark that was eating some bait. These are the ones that you find that have rubber boots in them and license plates in them and all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, Vinny, that's one of the inherent risks of ingesting scuba gear. People do get attacked. It happens. There are ways to minimize your chances of getting attacked, all of which these people are not doing. This guy up in the top right is sitting on a dead whale so he could get a good shot. That's about the dumbest thing you can do. But the difference between surfers and divers, I'm more of a diver than a surfer. Surfers get attacked way more than divers. because they're sitting on the surface. And Fanning got attacked by that shark, and what actually happened is it got caught in its leash and it freaked out. He thought it was caught in a net or something, and it thrashed and thrashed and thrashed, and it hit him a couple times, but it didn't attack him. If he wanted to bite him, he would have bit him. He didn't. He freaked out as much as Fanning did, but he didn't have to buy a new wetsuit. Okay, lately, this may not be the best thing to do in South Orange County, which is spearfish, carrying dead fish around with you. Or kayak and clean your fish out in the water and then throw the guts overboard, because sharks come. My next door neighbor was spearfishing off T Street last year, and he got, well, him and his big son came in first, and then his little son Ty came in after them, and he was all by himself, no fish, no nothing, and he got circled by about an 8-foot white shark, and then it charged him, and he's pretty, he works for Rife Spear Guns, and he knows what he's doing, so he didn't shoot it, he just pushed it away, and then he swam back watching it the whole time, and then it charged him again, and then he pushed it again. By that time he was in about waist deep of water, and the shark swam off. But that's scary behavior from an 8-footer. You don't usually see that kind of stuff until they get about 10 foot. They change their whole philosophy. In fact, Lowe says that white sharks don't even know they're white sharks until they're at least 9 foot tall. They're scared of everything until they get to about 9, and then they go, I'm top dog out here. I don't need to be afraid of anybody. Okay, everybody always asks, what's the worst sharks? What's the 4 worst sharks? Tiger shark can be aggressive, but they live in the tropics. You'll never see them here. Oceanic whitetip, very aggressive, very large, lives in the middle of the ocean. You'll never see it close to shore. These are the ones that would attack boats that got torpedoed and stuff during World War II. This is the shark that's responsible for that. And he lives in the middle of the ocean, which is like a desert. So if there's any food at all, they go for it, because they don't get a lot of chances. And then the white shark. And then probably the most dangerous shark, who knows? Bull shark, the one I was swimming with. The guy told me I was fine. Don't worry, it's a bull shark. Now they know it has the highest testosterone of any animal on Earth. And they swim up rivers over 1,000 miles. They have some weird ability to be able to swim in fresh water, in lakes and rivers. Crazy. And this is what they see. They call it sight picture. A lot of them hunt from underneath, and they come up underneath. And that looks like the slowest, lamest seal you've ever seen. So they're going to go for that, right? They bite into it, and they have a lot of taste buds. They can taste. And they go, that doesn't have a lot of fat. I don't want it. And they just swim away. But if you get hit, that could be a problem. 95% of the people that are attacked by white sharks don't die from them. 95. But it's probably good to be little. Less blubber. Some places have way worse problems, like they have to net their beaches and have bells for their lifeguards to ring. They tried this during World War II and the Vietnam War. It didn't work. It was just orange dye is what it was. They tried this. They said, well, some sharks don't like sea snakes. So if we dress a diver like a sea snake, but then they didn't take into account that tiger shark's favorite hors d'oeuvre is sea snake. This is an interesting, if you have $5,000 laying around and you want to get a chainmail suit, kind of like what the knights used to wear, it works really well against small sharks. This was a guy I knew that went to Long Beach 25 years ago, and they were testing these things out, and they couldn't get this blue shark, look at his nictitating membrane coming up, to bite him. They tried everything. They're out in the middle between here and Catalina. They couldn't get this shark to bite him. So they stuffed a bunch of dead fish underneath his suit and then waved it around, and finally it bit him. And they found out, oh, the suit works. Nobody's tested it on a white shark. I'm not going to. What they're doing a lot with right now is electrical signals. But these things have not been tested. I mean, they say they have been. Don't believe it. There's no scientific testing on those shark fans. There has been scientific on this. Once again, they haven't really tested it in a full speed attack. So it says the latest in shark repellent technology, the wooden spoon, proven to be as effective as any untested repellent on the market. Unless, of course, this is a new picture. This is that same guy that got kind of attacked, my next door neighbor's son. They were off the 14-mile banks 2 weeks ago, jumped in, and there was a 17-footer out there. So they got back on the boat.
Yeah.
But this is probably the safest way to see dangerous sharks. Now remember, out of 550 types of sharks, there's only like a handful that would bother people. If you're going to be in the water with tiger sharks or white sharks, this is probably the safest way, unless you have a specially trained dog like I do. Okay, he's the biggest, baddest El Supremo top length food chain feeder of all time. High five. Second biggest. Guess what? Sharks do have enemies. This is a sea lion attacking a thresher shark.
Whoa.
A big bull male sea lion. There's a pod of killer whale off our coast in California right now called the shark killers. They get that name is because they're killing white shark.
Wow.
They've somehow figured out to get them to, it's called tonic immobility. It's kind of they go into a trance. They put them up like this and the shark kind of goes out and then they kill them and eat their liver. And that's all they eat. And just this pod of killer whales has learned to do that and is doing it. Who knows why?
Where are these at now?
Off the coast of California. There's some coming down the coast, and there's some thought that they may be the killer. But the number one killer is what? Man. For every about 10 people a year, max, get killed worldwide by sharks. We kill anywhere from 75 to 150 million sharks. And what do we kill them for?
Fins.
For the most part, fins and jaws, but fins are the number one. That bowl right there would cost you over $100 somewhere in Asia right now. It doesn't. I've never had it, but people I've talked to that have, and here's some. It doesn't taste. It's just for texture. There's no taste. But they kill a lot of sharks for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
They grind that up for cat food or something?
Most of it they throw away because it's too expensive to keep cold, and they can only get pennies on the pound. But they can get a ton, especially if it's a big shark like a white shark or something, hundreds of dollars per pound for something like that. I mean, there is some shark fishery for sure. Some places won't even let you bring sharks on the dock anymore. I just put this in. That's my dad. In the 1950s, when he was on a tuna boat, when before they had purse seines, they used poles. And I remember him telling me the story. They caught this big shark. They kept seeing it come and gonna go back. And the boat rocks back and forth, and they're in these things. So then they're water this deep, and then they're out of the water. Then they're in water, and they finally got it and threw it up over them. So they still. I gotta admit, I used to eat shark. I don't anymore. It's pretty good. And this just got put up a couple weeks ago at San Clemente Pier. People were chumming off the pier to bring the sharks in, which isn't a good idea if you're under the pier bodyboarding or surfing or something like that. So they've outlawed it. And this is kind of a sad thing. I was up at Monterey Bay Aquarium doing a program, or not Monterey Bay Aquarium, our academy, which is right by Monterey Bay Aquarium. And I went into the aquarium and looked around, and then went across the street to this curio shop. And Monterey Bay really is conservation minded, save the shark, blah, 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 blah. And then right across the street, they're selling dead sharks.
What?
Yeah. Certain groups of people are hunting whale sharks by the tons. And that shark would probably feed the entire tribe for quite a while. But we don't know anything about whale sharks. We know their gestation period is 3.5 years, so they are going to be slow reproducers. So we may be wiping out the biggest fish to ever live on Earth. We certainly are wiping out areas like coral reefs and killing some of the all 8 species of turtle are on the endangered species list, right? We drained a lot of estuaries, which little baby sharks love to start their life in. We still pollute.
Dark, oh no.
And people still use long lining, and this is called a ghost net, and that's a long line that got away from the fisherman. He didn't want it to. That's a very expensive piece of equipment, but somehow got away from him, sinks down and kills things basically forever. Used to hear sharks don't get cancer. So we went out and killed millions and millions of sharks to get their cartilage to take, but guess what? These 4 sharks all have cancer. That's not true. Basically, though, what's the big deal? Who cares, right? Wrapping it up. They're just out there to bite us, right? No. We're doing more and more research. Powdered shark cartilage is used on burn victims. It's called Integra, and it actually allows the real skin to grow on top of it. Shark corneas have been transplanted onto humans. Shark's immune system are unbelievable. We're trying to figure out why it's so good. We didn't used to be able to keep things like whale sharks and white sharks in captivity, but now we can. And some of the people that are doing the major scientific study, guys like Michael Domeyer, he's the one that figured that the sharks went out into the middle of the ocean. Female sharks could come about every 2 years. They're on a big cycle. Males every year. He's the one who figured that out. Chris Lowe, our own Chris Lowe, right here on Long Beach, is tagging juveniles, learning stuff every day that we never knew. Incredible stuff. He actually figured out you could take pictures of their dorsal fin and you can tell what shark it is just by looking at the dorsal fin. And if you ever want to donate money, I'm just plugging him right here. Their research is unbelievably good, and they're out of money right now. Sharks make excellent scavengers. And if you've ever had one of these wash up on the beach, you wish it would have been scavenged. They are stinky, expensive things to get rid of. Lowers. Ecotourism, bringing millions and millions of dollars to islands and groups that would have never had it had the sharks not been there. But 20 years ago, you wouldn't have heard them say, come on down to wherever, we've got sharks in our water. They do now. People are still fascinated with sharks, though. From Katy Perry to San Jose. And this is really cool. This is what you used to see in natural history museums. But last year I went to San Diego, and this is what they had, a carcharodon hanging from the roof. Cool. Don't believe everything you read. Remember. The year before this, there were more shark attacks. The year after, there were more shark attacks. But these guys decided that this was the year of the shark. So, take everything with a grain of salt. And we're turning the corner. Shark's not always a bad guy anymore. This is a cool story. It's a silky shark. These 2 divers rescued it, had monofilament wrapped around it, and it swam off. They came back the next year. This shark came up to them and just sat there with them. They've come up 5 years in a row now. The shark always finds these 2 divers. I don't know how. Because these guys saved their life, that guy's life.
What kind of shark is that?
Silky shark.
And where is it?
I forget where it was. This guy, if you've never seen a good this is the best documentary on sharks I've ever seen. Shark Water. Unfortunately, this guy died a couple months ago doing shark research, using a rebreather. He drowned. Rent that thing, or it's an amazing movie. Okay, woman marries a shark. Some people are nuts. You know, some people are just crazy about sharks. Yes. This is not what is out there. You know, some sharks maybe, but not that shark. This is what's out there, right? So hopefully you're not quite as scared, but you do have a sense of what's going on out there. And I just, one quick word, I hate to think that on our watch, we're going to lose the biggest fish that ever swam in the ocean. So I hope that doesn't happen. So, yeah.